Can you tell me what you experienced and what you're feeling right now?
So what happened is we are in the hallway. We got an L-shaped hallway. And we're at the far side of the L-shaped hallway. And it hits. And we're huddled on the ground. And I got a 5-year-old daughter. And I put all my weight on her. And the roof ripped off like a Band-Aid. 5 of us were all huddled in that hallway. You can see everything else is gone.
That's Curtis. He lives in Wynne, Arkansas. He and hundreds of other people had their lives turned upside down when a tornado blew through their community one spring evening. It was tragic. The town's church and high school, along with entire neighborhoods, were just wiped away. Just like that. Wynne was one of dozens of small Arkansas towns that I visited in March of 2023. I spent an entire week crisscrossing the back roads of this state, just driving around, talking to people and seeing what this place is all about. Rural Arkansas is a trip, I tell ya. I first crossed into Arkansas along Highway 79, in the middle of nowhere, right on the Louisiana border. It sure was a pleasant first day here, a total difference from what I'd see later on in the trip. This is the route I'd take. It took us a week to drive up to Pine Bluff, then over to Bentonville and cross to Mountain Home and into Mississippi. And we always took the back roads because, well, you'll see things you don't see from the highway. That's why. I was actually surprised at the different types of scenery down here. There's forests, swamps, really pretty mountains, and a lot of farmland. You may not know it, but of all southern states, Arkansas ranks first for percentage of land that's farmland. Almost 2% of the entire state is designated for agriculture. It's mostly soybeans, cotton, and rice. In fact, you probably didn't know this, but 3 of our nation's top 5 communities that get government subsidies for growing food are here in Arkansas. One place, called Stuttgart, gets $50 million a year in subsidies. And guess what? Most of the rice grown here is shipped off to damn China. So we're paying rice farmers in Arkansas to grow food for China. A lot of this will probably be sent down to Biloxi to be shipped off to Shanghai tomorrow. Let that sink in. So anyways, farming's a big deal in Arkansas. It's all over the radio down here.
Remember, Pope Brangus Farms in Mineral Springs, Arkansas has registered Brangus bulls and heifers for sale. Call Mike Pope, 501-258-1508, or go to popebrangus.com.
There's a lot of big ranches down here in rural Arkansas. You probably didn't know that. And they're into rodeoing big time here, mister. Driving around one day, we came across a backyard rodeo ring right in the middle of the neighborhood. Lots of big buckle dreams are being dreamt in that dirt ring right there. Little buckaroos getting dirty instead of sitting in front of video games all day. Good for them. And that wasn't the only one. I saw another little backyard rodeo on some other rural road. One day we were driving around and we came across somebody's horse on the side of the road. Just out. Didn't know what to do. She wouldn't come over. I was worried she'd get hit, but I guess it's a regular thing down here. Just another day. And hunting is big business in Arkansas, especially duck hunting. In places like this, somebody will come in and make a big clearing in the woods, and then somebody else will come in and put their blind in that clearing, and then they get into a fight. You don't hear a lot of good stuff about Arkansas. You know, all the stereotypes and all. We all hear a lot about the drugs and poverty going on here. This part of the country has the highest drug positivity rate in the country, and it's going up fast. Look at that chart. There's been a 700% increase in drug use in this part of the South. That is just crazy. One study said nearly 30% of Arkansans tested positive for meth last year. And those are the ones getting caught. Drugs are so bad in rural Arkansas that they have billboards telling people where to get their Narcan. They even call their own state Narkansaw, if you can believe it. Download the app. Tell your friends. What the hell, people? And then there's the poverty. Statewide, Arkansas has a 17% poverty rate. That makes this the fourth poorest state overall. And in rural areas like this, it's much, much higher. But it's cheap. The average home price in a place like this is about $50,000. Right now we're in Marianna, Arkansas, which is technically the poorest place in the state. A lot of the struggles here in Arkansas are because of a loss in farming jobs. You know how the Midwest has the Rust Belt with all those depressing small towns? Well, this is the Rot Belt. It's the same thing, but in the South. Back in the day, Arkansas's farms were booming. I mean, in the Civil War days, this part of the South was considered the deepest of the Deep South. And this was a very wealthy region with all the cotton production going on. But modern mechanization and corporate farming have turned a lot of this state into dying small towns producing food for China. What is happening here? I saw a lot of small towns crisscrossing this big old state. Here's a little town called Hampton, population 1,100 and going down all the time. They have a cool little downtown that's hanging on pretty good, right? These little towns are very get to know you. Check this out. The downtown courthouse square is sponsored by all these little local businesses. Hampton also has Granny's Grill, a neat looking place that I'm sure all the locals love. I wish I had stopped here actually. The parking lot was full. Oh, just like their bellies, I bet. We came across a little town called Fordyce, home to 3,300 people and dropping like a stone. There's a lot of blue-collar jobs here in Fordyce, but a quarter of the population lives in poverty. Good people, though. Neat little town. A lot of these little Arkansas towns in the middle of nowhere have an architecture that's very identifiable. Towns like this that are struggling to hang on are pretty interesting to drive through. One day, a lot of this might be gone unless things turn around. A lot of these little Arkansas towns are starting to look like this. Driving around, we came across a place called New Edinburgh that was pretty wrecked. Just a small town of 134 people trying to make a go of it. There's some thriving little communities in rural Arkansas, though. Here's a little town called Berryville, population 5,600 and going up. They have this neat little downtown square, too. All these little towns are kind of cool to drive through. You know, the ones that aren't falling down. This is El Dorado, population 17,000. Now, statistically, El Dorado is losing its population, and some folks in town say businesses are leaving. But there's a little bit of optimism here. It looks much more inviting here than just about any other Arkansas town I drove through, though. Here's what a neighborhood looks like in a kinda not disappearing Arkansas town. These homes in El Dorado were going for about $130,000 each. Not bad, huh? The average household brings in about $33,000 a year, and that's just about on par with the state average. Driving around rural Arkansas, there's sort of a lot of things to see. I looked really hard for interesting stuff to show people and tried to show you the culture here. We came across Kingsland, Arkansas, population 344. Kind of fading town, way out in the middle of nowhere. But I'm here because this is the birthplace of Johnny Cash. I have to say, though, his memorial is kind of janky. Come on, Kingsland people. I got stripes, stripes upon my shoulder. I got chains, chains around my feet. There's a bunch of stuff in Arkansas that isn't an actual tourist stop, but it's still interesting. I came across a bicycle sculpture thing in somebody's yard. No idea why, but somebody was motivated. But a lot of stuff I wanted to show you guys was closed. I was really disappointed by that, let me tell you. This is a bar called Backwoods that would have totally been my kind of place. Not today, though. Trail rides! I really wanted a trail ride, or just to at least talk to the trail ride people. Nope. This BBQ place was also closed. Just somebody's barbecue joint, a little trailer that may or may not have amazing food. The Red Mule station wasn't open. It's sad to see all these places just closed. No idea on what their food's like, but don't know why they're not open. Razorback Ribs, closed. Hopefully not forever, but for now. The Ozark Mountain Hoedown Music Theater was closed. I bet that's a real hoot on Friday nights. Totally wish I could have seen that. This place is called Bikers and Bling. They're a clothing outlet that sells stuff that I wouldn't wear. I just wanted to look inside and talk to somebody, but not today. Tadpole's Catfish Barn looked like a lot of fun. Again, I missed it. Only open 4 days a week, and I was here not on one of those 4 days, damn it. And then there was a lot of stuff that was just closed down, like for good. I was driving around the mountains at the base of the Ozarks one day and found a joint called Jim's Saloon. This place wasn't just closed, it was burned down. Totally would have been my kind of place, damn it. And every now and then you find a church that's closed down. Here's one of them. Wonder what happened here. Maybe people just left town? You know what's never closed here? Dollar Generals. You see one every other mile in rural Arkansas. There aren't very many mom and pops or grocery stores here, but you can always count on a damn Dollar General. There's only 3 U.S. states without a Dollar General: Montana, Alaska, and Hawaii. I talked about the poverty in Arkansas. They have a lot of other issues here too, though. 1 in 4 kids here are food insecure, but at the same time, this is the 3rd fattest state, which is odd. 40% of Arkansans are obese. It's all that fried food, BBQ, pop, and ranch, and sweet tea. There's a lot of sugar in that. A lot of sugar. But Arkansas folks love their gas station food, just like they do in Louisiana. Every gas station and convenience store down here has something good to eat. Biscuits and gravy are back, everyone. I'm sure they all get excited about that. I stopped by one place in the woods called Turner Bend. Neat little place in the mountains. They had a bunch of local honey and apple butter and jams and jellies. You know that's good. Pepper relish. Chow chow. I don't know what that is, though. One gas station I went to has pickled quail eggs. What the? I don't know if I'd actually try those. Quail eggs? I don't know where they got them. But damn, that's some country right there. And the best part is you don't have to eat and run. A lot of the convenience stores in rural Arkansas have these little sitting areas where you can just eat and hang out and catch up on small town gossip.
I wonder if God wants these people to eat so poorly.
Mappy, now you're treading into a philosophical debate I don't think I want to have.
I guess if God put it on this earth, then we're allowed to eat it.
Yeah, God said, here's some chicken gizzards and gravy. Do your thing, Arkansas. Now you know you're in rural Arkansas when you look at the signs on the sides of the road. I came across a billboard that was anti-Joe Biden, paid for by a Christian organization, and then across the street was a sign for Jesus. I showed you the closed down church earlier, but for the most part, the churches are some of the nicest buildings in town. You'll be driving through a struggling community where there's places falling down all over, but not the church. Sometimes you'll come to a town of 500 people and there'll be 3 or 4 nice churches there. Makes sense. This is the 5th most religious state of all. Most folks down here are Baptists and Protestants. Religion and politics are supposed to be separate in this country, but it's a gray area here in Arkansas. While driving around one day, I came across Three Creeks Baptist Church in little old Junction City. So I went inside and met with church pastor, a guy named Dano Rayner. I asked some dumb questions and got preached at a bit. Nice guy. Why is religion such a big deal in Arkansas? Because it's one of the most religious states. Why Arkansas? Why religion here?
Well, I mean, of course, a Bible Belt, of course. You know, and of course, I'm from Mississippi. I actually grew up in Mississippi, so that's part of the Bible Belt as well. So I think that's part of it, you know, is that it was instilled in the generations to go to church, to be a part of the community. Now, where we are right here is Three Creeks, Arkansas. This is a community-based place. I mean, the community takes care of each other. And this is a community church, so everybody gathers around the church. And I think Arkansas, from what I've seen, like I said, I'm a Mississippi boy, so I'm not, it is probably a more traditional kind of state as far as community, and there's a lot of small communities in Arkansas. I mean, of course, you got Little Rock, you got Hot Springs, you got all these, but as far as outside of those, there are small communities that still are communities. People, you know, yeah, not a lot of people don't usually stay in their hometown. They usually go somewhere else, but just the generation before is just that community minded. And so, and the place to gather around each other in the community is the church. So that's one of the reasons that the church is important, because it gives them a place to gather as a community, as a faith, and to take care of each other.
I hear like religion, people are not going to church as much anymore.
A lot of people do online church.
Okay.
You know, the Bible tells us that we shouldn't forsake the gathering of each other. We shouldn't forsake the gathering of the family. The reason that is because we all need support. We all need help. There's not a perfect person in this world this side of Jesus. There's not. So we will never be perfect. So that's the reason that we need this community to help walk through life in the hard times. That's why we need each other. But I think our society has separated society. We can communicate through this now, and we can communicate, you know, overseas through this now. So that sense of community is being broken apart because, you know, you can get family on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, so you can keep up with your family now. Where we used to gather to update each other. Once a year, family reunions, you gathered and you talked and you talked about life and all that. Or once a week in my family, we used to gather around the dinner table, you know, which that doesn't happen anymore because we're all busy. We're all running, and we think we're accomplishing a lot of things, and we're not. When you're rich is when you're rich in your family. That's what it means to be rich. When you're rich in your faith and you're rich in your family, it has nothing to do with money. We think that the world tells us that, hey, the more money you got, the happier you'll be. That's a lie. You know, so it's about family, it's about friends, it's about community. That's what makes us happy, ultimately.
So I took a break from the rural driving around and spent a day in Pine Bluff. I did a whole video on that. But after Pine Bluff, I was back at it with more exploring and more small towns. This here is a small town called Jefferson, population 2,600 and dropping. Just down the road, I saw a little convenience store called Becky's One Stop, which has a deer on the sign, so you know they're legit. They even have bait inside. I talked to him for a bit to get the local tea. Tell me what it's like in this part of the state.
It's real country. 4-wheelers, fishing, crawfish, parties, campfires. That's about it. Yeah.
What kind of values do people hold in rural Arkansas?
Friendship.
Yeah. Family.
They have each other's backs.
Yeah. Family. Yeah, it's a good slow time down here. Just relaxing and enjoying. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
70 years ago, the king of American muscle cars, Chevrolet's Corvette, was born.
We came across a little town called Woodson, where there's about 600 people that call home. That place looked a little rough. And then there was this guy just pushing his mower down the middle of the street. I've never seen that before. Just working hard, I guess. Or maybe he stole it. No idea. And then just down the highway a bit, we came across a place called Sweet Home. Poor Sweet Home. A lot of it was abandoned and run down. That's a shame. Not so sweet to some folks in town. But that's how it is all over rural Arkansas. And that's how it is all over rural America anymore. Oh, jeez. In a little town called Redfield, there's a burger joint called Mammoth Orange Cafe. No idea on what oranges have to do with burgers, but it's a draw, I'm sure. In another town called Elkins, they have the Pig Trail Country Cafe, home to the famous Hoosh Burger. It sounds really big. But this was perhaps one of the highlights on the trip. So we were just kind of meandering through some towns at the base of the Ozarks and came into a little thriving town called Ozark. Neat place. Looks very inviting. But then I saw these signs. Hillbilly Snow. Hillbilly Realty. I was like, that's pretty interesting. Why is everything called hillbilly? Wouldn't that offend people in today's world? I mean, everyone's so sensitive. So I asked the guy inside of Hillbilly Realty about it, and I learned quite a bit about Ozark and about Arkansas in general. How's the real estate in Ozark?
The last 2 years have been excellent, like it has the whole country, but it's been good and still good. We're a close-knit little town that have our core values are conservative, and we have a lot of people moving here that wants that type of a lifestyle.
What's the average cost of a home in Ozark?
Now this year, probably in the 165 to 200,000, which I realize that's a lot different than it is in Orlando, Florida, or wherever. But it's for people that's making 35, 40,000 a year. That's a big percentage of what they make. Mm-hmm. Our children, we want to educate them and give them a good foundation, and I think that's all we all owe any child is a good foundation and a start, education. So we got good folks, lots of churches, within probably two hours of here, about any kind of activity outside you'd want to do, with the exception of snow skiing. We obviously don't do that, but there's about anything you'd want to do. Whitewater rafting is just north of here, just a little ways. Arkansas River's right here in our back door. Fishing, lakes, whatever you want, it's here. Hiking, motorcycle riding, RVs, just whatever. We've got it all.
Tell me about the name Hillbilly Realty.
Well, our mascot at the school is Hillbillies.
Okay, so the local high school is called the Hillbillies? I had to see that. Indeed, they are. Go Hillbillies! On the way out of town, I saw they even have a Hillbilly Inn. I was like, what in the hillbilly? Dang, Hillbilly Inn. Ain't nobody here. Looks pretty hillbilly to me. I say the name is fitting for this place. I'd stay here. Would you? You're all right.
There's Wi-Fi inside.
Okay. Eventually, after all the driving around, you do come to a big city. It's kind of hard to avoid Little Rock. It's the capital of the state, and all roads lead to Little Rock. And you know you're in Little Rock when you get there. Lock your doors and hide your kids, everyone. Little Rock is rough. I didn't stay long, but I took a little cruise through Little Rock's downtown, which is not rough. It's actually a really nice, clean, modern downtown. I really like downtown Little Rock, and I didn't think I would. North Little Rock is a very ghetto place. You don't want to go to North Little Rock. Trust me. Driving around Arkansas's hillsides, I wondered, how come Arkansas land looks so much less poor and desperate and sad than West Virginia's mountain towns? I mean, they're both rural and isolated and all, and not very wealthy, but there's a vibe in Arkansas that's so much more uplifting than in West Virginia. I got pretty deep into the Ozark Mountains. In fact, I made a wrong turn and wound up in Missouri at some point. Missouri side looks like crap. I like the Ozarks, at least the Arkansas side. There's lots to see up here and so many little communities in the mountainsides. But boy, is this where Arkansas earns its stereotypes. Driving around one day on some random highway up here, I saw the only 2 Confederate flags for the entire week. I thought I'd see a lot more of those, but I didn't. And I took some major backroads too. I came to a place called Yellville, population 1,100 and going down. Seems very redneck to me. There's parts of Arkansas that have a high black population, but up here it's mostly white. Yellville's like 98% white. And what do white people like to do in Arkansas? Race shit. I stumbled onto the North Central Arkansas Speedway one day. Totally wish it was open when I was in town. $12? That's a deal. There was nobody there, but I'm sure this place goes off on race weekends. I can only imagine what goes on down there on a Friday night. Rubbin's racing. I really did wish that I got to see this place in action, but I missed it. Speaking of white and redneck and all, have you ever heard of Harrison, Arkansas? Some people say it's the most racist place in the country. Why is that? Because it's home to the national headquarters of the KKK. That's why. Their headquarters is in the hillsides way away from the main drag, and I didn't think I should go snooping around up there, so I didn't. But the main part of town doesn't really stand out. Seems like a normal place to me. But here's where the controversy starts. Harrison has a famous billboard in town that says, "It's not racist to love people." I think they mean white people. It's sponsored by whiteprideradio.com. A lot of people say this billboard's racist, but it's never been taken down. Guns are a big deal in Arkansas, especially the Ozark part. Everyone has an assault rifle up here, and they're all waiting for a reason to protect themselves from intruders. One morning on a windy mountain highway, I passed the Riverside gun shop. So I went inside and talked to the dude in charge.
Have you noticed an uptick in people buying more guns now lately at all?
During the pandemic, there was quite a bit of it. It has slowed down just recently. ARs, I've actually come down in price a little bit. But it's a slower pace and still a Southern lifestyle.
What kind of values do people have up here?
Good Christian values. Everybody, pretty much respects each other. Things are a little bit slower where you can stop and talk to people instead of being in that hustle bustle that you get in a bigger city.
Mm-hmm. Now, guns are a huge deal. Everyone hunts in Arkansas, right? Can you talk about the culture of that?
The big seasons are deer. And our deer are small compared to Iowa. In the West. Yeah. But even Kansas will have bigger deer than us. But they're plentiful. When I lived in Arizona, you would put in for a drawing for a deer hunt, and it may take you 4 or 5 years before you got drawn. Here, when you buy your hunting permit, then you get 5 deer tags with it. The next biggest thing is wild hogs. And there is no season. There is no limit.
Blast them all.
Yeah. Because we're so hilly and the brush and everything is so thick, you don't get a lot of real long shots. So 40 yards is about an average that you're going to get when you're hunting deer or hogs, either one.
Mm-hmm.
So
things are just fundamentally extreme here in Arkansas. They look the other way on some things, but then it's very conservative in other ways. About half the counties in this state are dry, meaning you can't buy booze. And on Sundays, you can't buy booze anywhere in the state. And lots of other stuff is closed on Sundays here too. Abortion's illegal here. They used to have it on their sign. A lot of people here will support creationism in schools, but will not tolerate anything transgender. One of the best small towns in Arkansas is called Eureka Springs. It was along my journey way, so I spent a couple hours here driving around. What a neat little touristy town Eureka Springs is. It's modeled after a Victorian-era Swiss village. The whole place is in some little holler wedged between some mountainsides. They have places to shop and eat and learn about history. Super cool place. I highly recommend it. There's 2,000 people here and many are hippies. A lot of people here are gay as well. It's not a very wealthy place, but it's better off than most other small towns in Arkansas I saw. I could do a whole video on Eureka Springs. Maybe one day I will. Hey. Hello? Hello, anybody home? Back on the highway, I came across this house that had a bunch of rescued goats. I had never seen anything like them, so we stopped. They're called British Guernseys. Turns out they had gotten out of their fence. The owner told me they're mischievous and she has to keep finding a way to keep them penned up. Aw, and there's like babies. Those are, I've never seen anything like that.
They're rare. I took them on as
That was a trip.
conservation.
Been a lot of parties back here. And then a little bit later, I pulled over to pee in the woods, and I saw a bunch of Bud Light cans tossed into the debris. That sucks. Quit littering, Arkansas. But this was weeks before the Bud Light controversial thing. I don't think this was a protest. So this is just fascinating. So up in northern Arkansas, they have the only 2 Walmarts in the world where they're testing drone delivery. I saw like a little mini testing site in Rogers, but the one in Farmington is just too much. Look at this. That's a big platform that's used just for testing drone deliveries. It's like a mini airport. These drone jets take off from the platform and they can deliver packages up to 50 pounds. Supposedly, the Walmart drone test jets drop the packages off with parachutes and then come screaming back in and land like on an aircraft carrier. I wish I had seen that in action, but they were closed that day. On my final stop on this day, I passed by a place called Martin Greer's Candies. It's really famous. They make all these homemade candies from a special recipe that goes back generations. And let me tell you, they are implausibly good. I met the guy who owns the place, Martin Greer himself. Not only is he a candy artist, he's a painting artist too.
But Dad finally got back into the candy business, and so I learned to make candy. I learned to, in fact, when I was a teenager, I was cooking 500 to 1,000 pounds a day, and most of that went to Silver Dollar City. But
what's the secret to making candy?
Huh?
What's your secret to making candy?
Hard work. The recipes, actually, you can go online. There's Rigby's Reliable Teacher, if you want to look at that. It was printed in the 1800s, but it's online. You can see it.
He even gave me his book. Thanks, Martin.
Oh my God.
But my final day in Arkansas turned out to be the worst day. So the day before, I was in my mountain home cabin, and all the news reports were talking about this tornado that had hit parts of Little Rock and communities to the east. Turns out that area is exactly where I would be traveling the next day, so I figured I'd go by there and see what happened. And wow, people, this is Wynne, Arkansas, a wonderful community of 8,200 people, and this place got hit hard. Springtime in the South means tornado season. I saw that firsthand when I was here. I felt like I was dodging tornadoes the entire time I was down here. I mean, they were either hitting places I had just been or places I was going to be the next day. It's really scary. Here in Wynne, 4 people died in this twister, and there were a lot of homes completely destroyed. I got there the morning after the tornado had hit, and people were still sort of shell-shocked, just going through rubble, trying to see what they could find. But there was a sense of optimism in the air here. I think that's because of the community spirit.
We're very grateful to be alive. I mean, it's the tornado, we've seen it coming. We went and advised neighbors and went and took shelter in. She heard a big noise, and all of a sudden we came outside and our house was gone. Well, you see what it looks like right now. Yeah, but everybody this end is good, and they're all safe, and neighbors are safe, so that's what we really appreciate.
So we're here to salvage. Got my daughter's ballet bag. Got her softball gear. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
What are your feelings about what you're going to do?
It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
This is the house my wife grew up in. It's a lifetime of memories. We moved in with her mother a year ago, to be closer to family and, get a place of our own. So it's 2 households full of memories gone. 90% gone. Just trying to get what we can out of it. And just trying to look to the future. I'm trying to look for my daughter's activity stuff. Softball, Girl Scouts, all that type of stuff, so she can continue to do that. Just trying to look for hope in all this.
God has a purpose in this, and that while our town has been destructed and my house barely got missed, But I know it's because God has a purpose in that, because he needed us up here to serve. He needed us to be the hands and the feet for those that have lost everything. I lost a child in this town, turned out for me in ways I want to give back. I just want to be here for them. I want to give back to my community. I want to help rebuild my community. We're going to be stronger because of it, because this is what unifies people, and this is where the love of Jesus comes in, and we're going to see God do big things in our town. We're going to get these people through this hard time that have lost everything. We're here to help them, to love on them, and to just meet their needs.
This turnout, does this surprise you at all?
No, this is the kind of town we are. We're a small town, but we love big. We're blessed.
What did you experience yesterday?
Luckily, I live out on 64. For me, we just saw the wind pick up, and we went into the storm shelter. And of course, we had no self-service, so we couldn't really hear it. We wasn't getting any news, so we stayed in there for a little bit, and we come out. And at first, it didn't look bad at my house, and then I just went down the road, and it was heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to see people lose everything. We have I know there's been some fatalities. I don't know any of the details of that, but to see people just wiped out. But you got to count the blessing. For so many survived, and I don't know how some of them survived when you look at their homes, but they did, and we got to be grateful. We got to count those blessings, and we got to pray for these that are really just going to be suffering the loss of life and just trauma, that we had some transported to hospitals. And while it wasn't bad for me, and I'm blessed in that, it was bad for my town, and my heart aches for them.
Count your blessings, people. That's all I can say. After a whole week in Arkansas, I can say my perception of the state sure did change. It's kind of hard to dispel the modern Arkansas stereotype, since you don't really hear a lot of differing views coming out of this state. But I experienced a side of Arkansas I didn't know about. Of course, you're going to have a lot of people in Arkansas who will defend their state and say the stereotypes aren't true. But you're going to find way more people here who will agree with the stereotypes and say, yes, we are like that, and we're proud of it. And by the way, if you don't like it, good. Stay out. We're just fine the way we are. We don't want any West Coast or Northeast liberals moving down here and ruining the damn place. Arkansas's trying to improve the areas it can. Some people are leaving because of the lack of jobs and entertainment. But there's a lot of people coming down here because of the natural beauty and the cost of living. Some of this might look unappealing to you, but it's about as authentic deep south as you can get. There's really no other place like it in the country. And don't forget, if you're thinking about moving to Arkansas, I know real estate agents all over this state. If you think you want to move here, let me help you find somebody who will find you your perfect home. And you can also get my Unboxing Arkansas t-shirts. Don't leave home without them. The link to get your own Arkansas t-shirts in the description. Get in on that, people. Are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. And I can also help you find your new house, too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home too. That's right. I know awesome, reliable agents all over the country, and I'd love to connect you to somebody who can help you search for that perfect home. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.